Hey there, folks. It is Rob, and welcome to my nightmare. Today I'm going to talk about the next installment in the Indiana Jones movie series, and that is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which came out in 1984. PG-13 rating. It was one of the first films, other than Gremlins, to receive the PG-13 rating because of its violence and gore. Imagine that. Violence and gore in an Indiana Jones film. I like this film for what it is. It's a thrill ride. And some people call this like a gross out movie. I believe James Rolfe said that in one of his videos, and I really don't agree with that. Yeah, there are some, I guess, gross things about the bugs and things like that. But if you look at the culture of like the Indian people, like they, over in India, they do eat this kind of stuff, like some of these tribes, and they don't let nothing go to waste. So I really wasn't like grossed out about it. There are things you can say that are kind of disturbing about, Lost Ark with the face melting and stuff like that. And even with Last Crusade, with the guy turning old and turning into a skeleton. I guess it wasn't like all gross out and stuff, but there are rats in this movie. You got the snakes in this movie. In this movie, you got bugs. Directed by Steven Spielberg, you got story by George Lucas, and the people who worked on American Graffiti with George Lucas actually came to do the screenplay. Music by John Williams, never gets old. In fact, this is probably one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, especially this movie. And I'll get to that, the actual scene. But here you got Harrison Ford reprising his role as Indiana Jones, and you got Kate Capshaw, who plays Willie in this. Now, I know a lot of people say, okay, she's the stereotypical woman who screams, a damsel in distress. Honestly, Willie didn't bother me. There are a lot of complaints that she screams all the time. I didn't mind that, because in Ark, we had Marion, who is a badass, okay? So do they want to do another Marion? Why? Marion could hold her own. Right? This was something different where she, Willie was this, I don't want to say rich kind of like woman who, well, she was, I want to say like a gold digger, but she, she was part of the high life. She liked money. And, in certain situations that bothered her that, didn't fit her needs, she would complain about it. So, I don't want to say she was like a typical woman. I'm just saying, like, Indy had a lot more to deal with the fact that Willie needed saving. So that just added to the tasks that he had to perform, to actually help her and not rely on her to be like a strong woman. So I felt like that gave him more to worry about. Ki Kwan, who plays Short Round, was Indy's, short little Asian sidekick. He was like the Robin to Batman, and he was there to, he provided some comedy and stuff, but he was great. Like, I loved him in Goonies, and, he was great in this. I mean, Holy Jones, he's like, holy moly, Dr. Jones, hold on to your potato. He's like, Indy, cover your hod. Don't drink, it's bad. Spit it out. Oh, man. He's great. Like, I love Short Round. And you think about it, like, Short Round actually saved Indy. I think a few times, but when the girl was stabbing the doll, the voodoo doll, like, he saved Indy. Indy would have got crushed. And to think about Willie, too. Willie always was screaming and stuff like that, but in the third act of the movie, she actually fights back. There are a few times she actually, she throws something at somebody. She punches a guy off the mine cart. So she actually, it's like she goes from, being someone who just screams a lot and just she's annoyed by everything to someone who's like been pushed. So she actually helps. So it's fine. Like, I love Kate Capshaw. I loved her in Space Camp, one of my favorite movies. And of course, she is married to Steven Spielberg. But there are a lot of complaints about this film, and I was going to do a reaction to James Rolfe's video about how they compared the Indiana Jones movies, and they talk about how this movie is one of the weakest and one of the most controversial, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what? Like, they don't make any sense. I mean, yeah, okay, so when this movie first came out, right, the thing is, it was a financial success, but the reviews were mixed. They criticized the violence and the gore, some of the story elements, but it was intense in certain situations, and I felt like, the violent sequences, which were also complained about in Gremlins, since they switched the MPAA rating went to PG-13, it, brought in a whole new, like, audience, a whole new set of people for that. And I don't know, I felt like it worked. It was a lot darker than, I mean, I even thought Raiders of the Lost Ark was a little dark, but this goes darker. I mean, it's about a cult. So it's like, if you're going to have like satanic stuff or like voodoo stuff with sacrifices and violence and stuff like that, it just shows you what goes on in that time period. So I didn't mind that. Like I said, it actually gave Indy more of a challenge. I mean, look at all what he had to accomplish in this movie. He had to save the village. Okay, I might as well just tell the story. So, there's a whole nightclub scene that happens in the beginning. They get on a plane. They're escaping these like criminals. They get on a plane. Short Round, Indiana and Willie. They get on a plane. The plane, the drivers of the plane basically jump off to where the plane is not being flown by anybody. They jump. So Indy and them jump out of a plane in a like a raft. They fall like from up in the sky. They land in a river, and a lot of people complain about that, saying like, "Oh, they would be dead." It's like Indiana Jones. He's this is what happens in Indiana Jones film. It's kind of like Mission Impossible. Like, how come James Bond gets a pass for always jumping out of stuff and always surviving these situations where you say there's no way he would have survived that? How come James Bond gets a pass, but Indiana Jones, he gets criticized there? So they land in India, and this village of these people who are starving they're coming to Indiana saying, "Look, like, we need your help." This cult, this thuggy cult came in, took all the kids away. All the children have been kidnapped, and they're being used as slaves to dig in a mine to look for these sacred stones. Took the stones from the village. They need 5 stones altogether, but they got 3, and they have the children looking for the other 2. So Indiana Jones has to set out on a mission to go to this place called Bangkok Palace, where he believes that these people came from and took the children. He's got to go there and do some investigating. Bring back the children. Fight this thuggy cult. And find the stones at the same time. He's got to deal with all this stuff. I mean, it's crazy how much he has on his palette right now. I mean, it's all the stuff that he has to do. And like I said, this takes place in 1935. It takes place before, the story takes place before Ark, which is 1936. So this is a prequel. And, like I said, it was successful. You have some people coming back. Like I already said, some of the same character, did the story. George Lucas did the story. And a lot of people criticize him of that, maybe he was going through a rough period or rough time. Why would he want to do something like this? But honestly, I think it's awesome that they did. It's like a horror movie. This is like an Indiana Jones horror movie right here. But yeah, it came out May 23rd, 1984. I was 2 years old, and so the runtime for this is 118 minutes. The budget for it was $28.17 million, and it made $333 million at the box office. So, yes, financial success with some mixed reviews, but some people, I can't believe some people would actually consider this to be the weakest. I don't understand it. Just because it's different from these two films, people are going to say that this is the weakest or this is the odd one out. Honestly, I say this all the time. You ask anybody what their favorite Indiana Jones film, it's between these two. That's the answer you'll get. So, I've heard people, like I said, I've heard people say that Last Crusade is their best, and that's fine. But most people will say Doom or Raiders. So, the Thuggy cult is pretty cool. Like, they are malicious bastards. They are whipping kids. There's stuff that they have in this movie that would never fly today. They're sitting there whipping these kids, having them dig in the mine and stuff like that. This guy, Motoram comes out, this leader. He comes out and he reaches in this guy's chest and pulls out his heart. Lowers this guy into the chamber of fire, or lava, I should say. He burns up, and while he's burning up, his heart burns up on the outside. It's like a voodoo trick. And that is so cool. The bug scene is cool. They walk through this cavern, and there's all these different kinds of bugs and stuff like that. Really, really awesome. And some of those bugs are, those bugs are actually real. Some of those are at this, bug museum or something. You can actually see them. But, this movie just keeps on going. That's what I like about it. There's so many cool things and things that would actually make you a little startled. One of the scenes that always gets me till this day is when they make Indiana Jones drink the blood of the Kali, and then you fall into the black sleep of the Kali Ma. I mean, it's really creepy. After they make him drink the blood, it shows Indy sitting on this. He's laying on this rock with candles, and it's like he's having a nightmare, and he's like, "Aah!" And he wakes up, and he doesn't know where he is, and he just starts laughing. And I'm thinking to myself, that was so well done, so creepy. And so he becomes like them. He becomes like part of the Thuggy cult. And again, Short Round saves him. He burns Indiana Jones, makes him snap out of it. Short Round saved him there. Short Round keeps saving Indy. And people say that they don't like Short Round. Short Round fucking saved him, okay? There was also an accident. The part where, the Thuggy member, Indiana Jones is in his room, and he's about to go over to Willie's, and this Thuggy cult member is in his room, and he tries to fight, he basically tries to kill Indiana Jones, and Indiana Jones, he has a whip tied around his neck, and he does this flip over the Thuggy guy. And at that moment, he hurt his back. Harrison Ford really hurt his back. They had to stop filming, and then he came back after a while, but it was really bad. It just seems like he gets hurt in all these, but or he gets hurt or he gets sick or something. But yeah, he got really hurt in this. But the fight scenes are so good. I love the music. Like I said, one of the best parts of the music when the score is playing is when the minecart is going along the track and the kids are pushing it. All of a sudden, the light shines, and Indy's just standing there like this. And it's like, and it just, it shines right on him. He just looks pissed. And then all of a sudden you hear punching sound and he's beating the shit out of those thuggy cults. Like, he takes on all these thuggy cults. He has no army. People say Rambo's the best. Look, he's taking on all these guys. Like, honestly. He's a badass in this movie. The bridge scene. How can we forget the bridge scene, which was built? It was built for that specific scene. They had dummies on the bridge, and they blew the bridge one time. They had to get it right. They blew it one time to make it kind of split in half like that. That was really cool. The bridge scene is awesome. So many memorable scenes in this. So many memorable scenes. I probably saw this movie the most growing up. Like I said, it was the first one I saw. And, do I prefer this or Raiders? Well, you're going to have to see in the ranking. But every time I watch this, I have to watch the whole thing. If it's on and it's halfway through it, I have to sit and watch the whole thing because that's how interested I am. Love this movie. A lot of people have a problem with the whole beginning, with Anything Goes, the musical thing that happens, which doesn't bother me. It kind of goes from lighthearted to action-packed to very dark and intimidating. And that's fine. I like all the different layers that you have in this movie. That's what it is, all these different layers. Honestly, though, this movie has it all. It's like I said, an Indiana Jones horror film. Very fun. And he still kicks ass. There is a fight with one of the Thuggy members. He's really big, and I think he was played by a professional wrestler called Pat Roach. He was the guy. Yeah, he was the big guy on the conveyor belt. And yeah, that was pretty cool. He was like huge. There was like a really cool fight where like he gets sucked down the conveyor belt and then he gets caught in where the wheel crushes rocks. He gets basically crushed and he's like, ah! Yeah, there's some crazy stuff that happens in this movie. But a lot of the complaints that people have, I just don't see eye to eye with that. I just don't get why they complain about it. It just don't make sense to me. Ever since I was little, I always thought this movie was fun. And yeah, so maybe it's the horror movie fan in me. The fact that I feel like this is a horror film, maybe that's why I'm just turned on so much by it. I don't know. But yeah. So anyway, that is my thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Just fantastic movie. Freaking love it. If you haven't seen my review of Raiders of the Lost Ark, definitely check it out. Stay tuned for my next video because I will be reviewing Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Stay tuned for more. This is Rob signing off, and I'll see you in the next one. Indy, cover your heart!